recognized by many persons and institutions. And it's my pleasure and honor to introduce several of them to you and allow them to give their opening speeches. Firstly, it's my kind pleasure to invite Radko Mesiar, the founder or one of the founders and the honorary chairman of this beautiful conference who represents the Slovak Technical University. So please, Radko.
Thank you. Sorry, I was not expecting that. I was expecting that honorary chairman means that he is coming, sitting and looking what his followers are doing.
And having the honor.
But in any case, I am very glad to see that really the FSTA has good roots and it's growing nicely and flourishing. So I believe that you will have the same feeling also after the conference. So I wish all the best to all participants and to the conference itself. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Radko. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and honor to invite Colonel Aurel Sabo, Director of the Armed Forces Academy of General Rastislav Štefánik in Liptovský Mikuláš, an institution that co-organized this event since the very beginning. So please, Colonel.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure, great pleasure and honor to welcome you to fsta 2024 conference. This conference is co-hosted by Armed Forces Academy of General Milan Rastislav Štefánik. And as I know, this conference was established by my colleague at the Armed Forces Academy. This conference is 14th conference, and I think it's quite good history for the conference. This conference is a unique opportunity to exchange ideas and experience on the latest developments and challenges in the field of fuzzy logic, fuzzy systems, soft computing, and related areas. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you will find the conference program stimulating and exciting, and that you will also enjoy the social events and networking opportunity. I would like to thank all the organizers, sponsors, speakers, and participants to making this event possible. I wish you a successful conference and a pleasant stay here in Liptov, a beautiful region of Slovakia with rich history and culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Now it's my big pleasure to invite Willem Novák, representing the University of Ostrava, an institution that officially joined the organization of FSTA in 2020. However, Willem personally is one of the few who has never absent from the FSTA events and who always served in the program committee. So please, Willem.
So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's my really great pleasure to be here again and again and again. I try to remember, and I remembered that in the conference started in 1990, and it was organized by the Department of Mathematics of the Military Academy. And the leading person in that time was Professor Bero Riečan, who unfortunately is no more with us. But I must say that from the very beginning, I love this conference for three reasons. The first reason is really very high scientific level. Every talk in this conference is, I would say, masterpiece of scientific presentation, and really I enjoy it anytime. The second reason, the conference is not too large, something like 60 to 80 people, but it is a very friendly atmosphere. Most of us know each other for many years, and so it's really pleasant to be here. And the third reason is beautiful surroundings. The place where it is organized, we are surrounded by mountains. We can see high Tatras, low Tatras. So it's really nice to be here. And I hope that this conference will never die and will continue even after we will already leave this world. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Milan. Last but not least, I would like to invite Ondrej Hutník from the Pavol Josef Šafárik University in Košice, the general co-chair of this conference, to provide you with his welcoming speech. Please, Ondrej.
Thank you, Martin. It is my great pleasure to say something on behalf of General Chairs. First of all, thank you all the participants, because your participating at this conference is making this conference possible, and without you, this conference would have never been possible to do. I can see a lot of beautiful people from many countries. I can see the matadors of this conference. I can see the big stars, as well as I can see young people, PhD students, and maybe rising stars. And I can see topics which are in the core of the conference, and it is very good. The topics which are, I can say, good old one, but with new ideas, methods, and approaches. But I can see many beautiful topics from artificial intelligence and new ideas, and that's very good. And it brings me idea that this conference will survive. And I wish you enjoy this conference, enjoy the atmosphere, and enjoy this beautiful part of Slovakia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ondrej. Thank you very much, gentlemen, to all of you. As all important things have been told, I only add my wishes to enjoy the beautiful conference to all of you, and mention that this is the 17th anniversary of FSTA conferences. So although it exists since 1990, from the point of view of number of birthdays, it's not adult yet. So if FSTA was a girl, it would have been a young girl, still not adult, beautiful girl, and with the whole future ahead. And I don't doubt that this is the case of FSTA. And gentlemen, this is because of you. Attendance, this is because of you. And it's also because of the best organizer of conferences in Slovakia, Ladislav Šipeki. So, therefore, Lassi, let me kindly invite you to give also your welcoming speech and to deliver a few technical details.
Thank you very much for that really nice introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the FSTA conference. Allow me now to say a few words about technical information of the conference. First of all, I would like to inform you that all members of the organizing committee have these yellow badges. So if you have any questions, remarks, comments, do not hesitate and contact any of us, and we will do our best to solve your problem. Then I would like to inform you about the dashboard that is in front of the entrance door to this conference room. I believe that most of the important information are already there, but if you miss any other information, again, feel free to inform us, and we will update the dashboards that are there. There you can find many of information about FSTA sports, FSTA social programs, etc., etc. FSTA conference is in hybrid mode. It means that some of the speeches will be online, and also all of your speeches will be streamed. It means that you should communicate with our technicians just prior your session to help. They will help you with streaming or presenting the presentation, and also they will help you with the microphone that you will use. Not this cable one, but you will have a simple, not wired one, wireless one. Okay, thank you. In the welcome pack, you probably realize that you got many of documents. And please, during this conference, during your stay here, please check all of the information that you got. If the documents are correct, if something is missing, again, do not hesitate to contact me, and we will create a new one and some documents that you really need for your institution. Then, if there will be more snow, please do not park just by the hotel because of the snow that can be in the roof, and it can harm your car. So be careful also with this. Now, allow me to say a few words about non-scientific program. On Wednesday, there will be two bus trips organized. One of the buses will go to Slovak Museum of Liptov village in Pribilina, in fact, open air museum where you can see some or learn something about the history of the region and architecture of the region. The second organized trip will be to the cave, to Demenovská cave. That is Demenovská jaskiňa Slobody is the correct name of this cave, and it's one of the top 10 Slovak caves. And I believe that it's a really nice cave, and it was reconstructed. I mean the technique inside was reconstructed a year ago, so it will be very, very nice. By the way, this is something where you really should be precise, because you have to be punctual, because the bus departure is 1:15 on Wednesday, and the bus will leave at that time. So please be punctual. And this is the view that you will enjoy if you choose this trip. The second part of the non-scientific program is also in Wednesday, and Wednesday it is a concert of FSTA. It's a concert of the participants, and it's a very nice tradition of this conference. And I believe all of you will participate either as audition or also as a performer. On Thursday, we will have a football match. The organizers versus world, and if you want to participate as a player, then do not hesitate to contact Martin as soon as possible, because we have to manage some things around this football match. So do it preferably today. And not just players are needed, but also cheerleaders. We have pom-poms that you can use, and you are welcome to cheer our players. And if you don't want to do or playing or cheerleading, you can still invited to watch the game. Then after the football match, there will be a banquet, and during the whole conference, it will be a chess tournament, and you can sign yourself for this chess tournament. Again, check the dashboard in front of on the dashboards. Now allow me to introduce our sponsors, and it is something that I'm doing I like to do it because without the sponsors, the FSTA conference will be not possible. So we have two sponsors: Mathematics, Journal Mathematics and Journal Axioms, and we have another technical sponsors like University of Ostrava, University of Slovak Technical University, Academy of Armed Forces, and EUSFLAT. Now, allow me at the end of my speech to recall some previous FSTAs, but from the organizers' point of view. FSTA 2022, it was a very difficult year because it was a Corona year, and we all had a face mask, at least at the beginning. But under the face mask, there was always a smile, because everyone is enjoying the stay here. And it was also the first time that the conference was hybrid, and these were our previous technicians. FSTA 2020, we made a change. We changed the hotel and we came here. And despite of the lift, I believe it was a good choice to do that. And it was also the first time when in the concert there was not just musical performances, but also we had also magical performance for the first time. 2018, there was no snow. It is this region, as you realize probably, this region is lovely when it's white. But at that year there was no snow. But something very interesting happened during the FSTA concert. Our friend Suraid from India sang a song to summon a snow. It was a traditional song from his country, and believe it or not, the next day everything was white. Pure magic. 2016. 2016, we started a tradition with medals and also the tradition of official photographer, and therefore we have very nice pictures starting from 2016. And thanks to this man who is always ready to take pictures, I would like to introduce Michal Vrba, who is always ready to make pictures for you, and do not hesitate to ask him to make pictures. 2014, as it is clear, we have not nice pictures. Either they are with bad contrast, blurred, but there is an exception, thanks to Jirka Kupka, who was making pictures during the concert. So we have nice pictures from the concert. And one more thing, the conference 2014 was a very special conference for me because it was the very first time, and it was thanks to Radko Mesiar, when I was standing here in front of FSTA community and having a welcome speech. And I said the sentence that I would like to repeat also today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the FSTA conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laci. So the opening is over, and I'm changing or switching my role from the moderator to the chairman of the first plenary speak. So please, Martin, yes, very short introduction, not to take your time, Katarzyna. Katarzyna Kaczmarek-Mayer is the first plenary speaker. A little bit changing the bad habits we have, as you could see that this was not very gender equal opening ceremony. So luckily on the side of invited speakers, this is a different story. And only very shortly, short bio of Katarzyna. Not working bio, okay. She got her master degree in applied mathematics, and Maciej Vigralak was the supervisor. PhD in intelligent computing, and Olgia Hriniewicz was the supervisor. So she has a very good family behind, I would say, from the academic point of view. She's an assistant professor at the Polish Academy of Sciences, as well as she's a president of Information Technologies for Psychiatry Foundation in Poznań. And a big owner, she's a coordinator or president, if you wish, of eHealth and Living Without Barriers section with the Polish Information Processing Society. Her interests and successes. She's interested in soft computing, time series, and data stream analysis, theoretical foundations and applications of intelligent systems, especially in medical systems. She got several awards, for example, IFSA Young Scientist Award, Best Paper Awards on several conferences, including FASA-IEEE 2022. And she has a patent on medical device for diagnosis for phase change in bipolar disorder. So based on her very big successes, scientific as well as applied oriented successes, she became a star of Polish television. Katarzyna, please take the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Martin, thank you very much for this talk. I am really honored to be the speaker and especially to be the first speaker. So really thank you for inviting me and for giving me a chance to give you a talk on two topics that I have been really recently interested in. This is the linguistic summarization and semi-supervised learning. And during my talk, I hope I will convince you how these two areas overlap and why they are they are interesting. Okay, I will start with the first. Oh, it's not working. Okay. I will start with the first part that is related to the linguistic summarization and providing just a few insights why we are doing this and why it is important. Probably if I ask you about the explainable methods, you may imagine a picture with like, okay, I love dogs, so here you can see, but these are some of the methods that I bet some of you thought of. When we have a picture, we want to explain the prediction, so we split it into parts to explain. However, the main disadvantage of this approach that this in fact is a black box model where we aim to provide a post hoc explanation. But let's now come back to the definitions. And I would like to look really in detail what is in fact an explanation. I will come back why it is important soon. So already taking from the Cambridge Dictionary, it's the details and reason a model gives to make its functioning clear or easy to understand. And I think once we look into this definition from this angle, it becomes really clear. Also, we need to really clearly differentiate interpretability from explainability. Interpretability is considered as this is already also an ISO standard. So when we are dealing with systems methods, quite key. Interpretability helps us to provide a level of understanding how the technology works. And on the contrary, explainability builds on the interpretability, and it's already providing a level of understanding how the AI-based systems came up with these given results. And on purpose, these are citations. I wanted to really focus on those definitions that come from the ISO standards, because then, once more, there's another definition of explanation, which is visual and textual artifacts also that provide, of course, the qualitative information. And now knowing all this and knowing which community are we are the fuzzy community, we may very quickly think of how naturally fuzzy logic is in line with what is in fact requested by the various technology. And from this perspective, also from my previous experience, when I started working with various medical systems, we of course work on a solid and robust, technically robust solutions. However, very quickly, we realized that apart from the good predictions and robust models, it is of high importance to deliver also feedback to the users to build trust in them. And the last one, the last slide of this introduction about the explainable methods, it's not only also to build trust, but it's also due to regulations. Even in January this year, probably you have heard of the EU AI Act, which clearly states that we need to deliver human-centric approaches. And then once we also verify what does it mean in trustworthy AI, we probably till now usually thought of robust. So systems shall be respecting all the technical and social perspectives. Of course, also all the regulation and laws, but also it needs to be ethical in the sense that it's explainable, explicable. And now, so knowing the related work within the fuzzy fuzzy logic, especially the granular computing. Here we can see some examples of the information granules that in fact ideally align with this explainability framework. We have frequent patterns, to give you some examples, fuzzy association rules, here with Professor Novak, and we have also some, in particular of the intermediate quantifiers. So these are examples really of this information granules. And within my talk, I will focus on one of the examples on information granule, that is the linguistic summaries. So unfortunately, I will not deal with all the other types of methods. I would like to now dive into the linguistic summarization. Linguistic summaries are statements in natural language that describe numerical data sets. To give you an example of such statement, you have them on the right. We can say that most young people are tall. We can say that most young people earn low salary. Okay, to give more examples to pull on that. So these statements are human consistent, they pursue a human consistent information that is derived from the numerical data set. And going now to give you some more examples, this is our recent work where working with some quite complex sensor data, we realized that even though there are some recent methods that aim to explain graphically what is the dependence between the input variables and output variables. Probably you are familiar with the Shapley values. This is already based on the Shapley theory from the 60s, which is a very powerful feature and importance approach. But at the same time, such graphical plots are not always easy for interpretation for non-technicians. So for this reason, we generated linguistic summaries. You can see here some example telling what among the records that contribute positively, that's an example. Most of them have spectral-related features at low or high level. So this is part of this is an example. Another example that we can see in the related work is the work of very recent from the last year from the team of Jim Keller, when they the main idea was to extract some features from images. They were synthetically generated from the drones, and there these features enabled to measure either the sun angle, the elevation of the camera. The idea we see here at the end was still with the linguistic summaries, exactly with the fuzzy linguistic summaries done, to describe the model's performance in a short and interpretable way. And the main definition that majority of the works so far use for the fuzzy linguistic summaries is the definition originally introduced by Jager in '82. Then it was further developed also with Professor Kacprzyk and Zadrożny. And so let's all denote here the objects. Then we have A, which is the set of attributes. And then the key point is that for each term set, the linguistic term set is defined for each attribute from A. And then given that, a linguistic summary here, based on the short protoform, has the form of Q are objects, O are P. So here R is the qualifier, Q is quantifier, and we have P, which is the summarizer. Also, we need to measure the validity of the sentence with T, which is from 0 to 1. And as such, we also can, in some cases, when we operate on short protoforms, we may resign of building, including R. Then we build just a simpler summaries of the form QORP. Or on the contrary, we may provide more complex summaries where apart from not only one attribute within the qualifier, but here we provide another composition of qualifiers. So either a function or where we have more attributes, either for a qualifier or for an attribute. And sticking still to this definition from of linguistic summary, of course, there's the degree of truth. We can easily see there are several or even several measures. Among them, we have degree of truth, degree of coverage that measures the support, degree of focus, of informativeness. For now, let's look just to the degree of truth, which is one of the first degree considered. Its definition is we have in numerator. We see here very nice T norm where we have the qualifier and the summarizer, and we perform this operation for all objects xy from all objects from O. And then in denominator, we just look at the qualifier. So this is the formal degree of truth. At the same time, once we look at that, and we also, when we really provide a huge set of different statements with the degree of truth in practice, we realize that it's also important to have properties on a group level. So not only for individual sentences, but also to measure the properties of within a group of summaries. And for that, the most important one is of course the contradiction and non-contradiction. In particular, we would be interested in. So let's now look at the sentence when considering that non-Q and Q, they are antonyms, and P and non-P, they are antonyms. Then to this sentence, C1 sentence is considered as contradictory, and C2 is also contradictory to LS1. And a very important property, which is expected from the system, is the double negation property, where we perform when we have a composition of both C1 and C2, and at the very end, we have the non-Q with non-P, and we expect that this degree of truth would be similar as the degree of truth of the original summary. And now once these properties are satisfied, we can say that the set of summary is consistent and it satisfies non-contradiction and double negation properties. And of course, non-contradiction implies in the sense that linguistic summaries made of contradictory forms have complementary degree of truth. At the same time, now once we imagine that the linguistic summary becomes more complex when we have more than one qualifier or more than one summarizer, we arrive at the point when we need more formal definition. And that's now the part where that's the part what we have been working on recently with Michał Baczyński and Kasia Miś. So let's introduce the notion to make this definition of linguistic summary more general. So again, we have a data set of objects, it's Y in this context, and we have a set of attributes, which is A. Then each attribute would be a function. In this context, we don't want it to be an empty set. And then the linguistic term set of a given for a given I from M is defined. And it enables now for us to formulate summaries and to assign this. In this context, we consider type 1 fuzzy set to be assigned for each linguistic term set. We also enable here that for different attributes, the number varies. This is here specified with I and for a given attribute, we may have the terms different, which also reflects often the needs from the practical examples. And then when we define the family V, which then clearly matches the attributes, the linguistic term sets, with the objects. And having said that notation, let now S be a quintuple. So we have Y, which are objects. We have A, which is the set of attributes. We have P, and this is something new, which is the family of summarizers. And we have R, which is the family of qualifiers. And also we have Q, which is the quantifier. And these five objects constitute a fuzzy summary. Then we also have a very important condition to be met, that once one attribute is considered as qualifier, of course, we cannot consider it as a summarizer. So these formulas 4 and 5 enable that. So having defined the fuzzy summary, next we define the family of functions that measure the quality. We will denote it with T. Let's now consider T1 as an example. It will be a validity of the fuzzy summary. So if we assume that P is a family of P to L, and R is also a group, well, a family from 1 to K, we then see clearly that we have a special case. So for the situation when L is 1 and when K is 1, then we have the special case of the extended protoform with only one qualifier, one summarizer. At the same time, once we have more, we define additional functions, F1 and F2, that enable us to encompass this information. And we still, then, for the T norm, we have the degree of truth, T1, which is defined as follows. And now, this we can come to defining conditions and constraints which need to be made. So we can say that the double negation is met. So we also introduce the fuzzy negation. Here, F bar, we also have an antonym, Q dash. And here you can see the very interesting equation that was already before, now expressed in this framework with this notation. So for the double negation property to be met, we require here that a non-Q will be satisfied with Q dash and non-P with P bar. And once we have that, for consistent fuzzy summaries now, we see that the quantify must satisfy the following notation. And now we can continue with propositions and remark, one of them related to the fixed point, because in this case, when we have here a composition of tenors and we have already clearly defined the antonyms and negations, we arrive to such conclusions. And I will conclude now at this stage, because I will switch to the next part. But let's remember, let's say, this setting. We will have also on Thursday after lunch a talk where we'll talk furthermore on the double negation property. But what is important right now, that as you can see, we start to have a general definition for fuzzy summary. And okay, now going to I will come back to this point very soon. Now for a moment, also remembering the explanations, here you can see a snapshot of a very recent black box now algorithm, just for a comparison. You can see a tremendous number of views this paper has already. And here, the authors wanted to provide explanations. There is no, at this stage, there was no fuzzy concept. This was a deep neural network. But the key information here is that, as you can see, even though they can really describe also that this is a picture of flamingo because there was water and there were some feathers, but the very key limitation in practice is that to train really these models, we need labeled examples. And in practical applications, very often we do not have those, or they are limited, or they are of partial confidence. So now let's look closer to the problem of partially labeled examples, or in a broader sense, we may talk of a semi-supervised learning. So let's, in a very, let's say, simplistic setting, we can imagine we have oranges and triangles, and once they are all labeled, of course, it's a fully supervised scenario, or if they are more, we have additional information to learn, and those semi-supervised approaches try to incorporate the information about the data structure into the inference. We have N and M observations that are supervised. But now I think that most of you will say, well, but this is binary reality. Life is not that. And you are completely true. Therefore, what we are interested especially in, these are C partitions, and in particular, fuzzy C partition and the fuzzy clustering. So we are especially interested in a soft assignment, or finding a soft assignment of each observation, as you can hear, to each cluster. So formally, let X be a finite set. We have C, which is a number of clusters. And then, of course, we have the C partition space with matrices M, where we have U. The key and most important, this is also the most important constraint for further calculations, is that the memberships for one observations within each cluster need to sum up to 1. And okay, to give you an example of this C partition, as I think everyone is already maybe looking for the coffee, so let's maybe warm up a little bit. Fuzzy 2 partition, we have 3 observations. X1 we see belongs to cluster 1, X3 mainly belongs to cluster 2, and X2, what is it? Is it a hybrid? In BESDEC, it's in the great book on the fuzzy clustering, we find a comparison that it's X1 is the peach, X3 is a plum, X2 is a nectarine. However, later on, there was a controversy from biology community that nectarine is in fact not a hybrid. So knowing that, I provided for you another example. At the same time, I wanted to provide a fsta mascot. And since I didn't know Michał then yet to take a picture of some fuzzy C partition, I asked AI to do that. And in fact, I asked ChatGPT-4 to give me a prompt to do a fuzzy mascot based on the program of this conference. So in a way, your titles were used here. But okay, coming to the C partition, I want you to take a look especially on this drink. Do you have an idea? What is this? What drink? It's this fuzzy mascot. What is he drinking? Juice. Very good. Yes, that's exactly probably what you had in mind. So here we see, if you have teenagers or kids, you probably are familiar with bubble tea. I discovered that not a long time ago. So bubble tea is a tea which contains bubbles, and in these bubbles we have juice. So then in such a drink, we may say that it belongs in some degree to a tea, and on the other one to juice. Okay, but now let's come to the most interesting now stuff, but knowing exactly the C partition, because this is the key how the feather algorithm operates. So we have U, which is the membership matrix. We have the prototypes matrix, and we need to find the optimal partition. We will here be minimizing the objective function J, working with the distances. As of now, we mainly work with Euclidean distance, calculating the distance between samples and prototypes. And having that, the semi-supervised fuzzy C-means, we have selected that fuzzy C-means, as this is very, let's say, common, one of the first. So here again, it's like we'll look into detail. This is our selection of method to work with, and what we find really very powerful is the way we can incorporate label samples with unsupervised samples. So here we have a component corresponding to the non-labeled sentence, non-labeled observations. And the second component here you have with this special B function indicates which of the samples is labeled. And then once we have this component, we can for those samples that we know what is the class, we do the matching between the class and the cluster centers. And then in this function, we additionally panelize, of course, if the observation belong to the different cluster. But what we were especially interested in a few months ago, it was the alpha, which is here. And in the original work of Professor Pedrick from 97, which is an amazing paper, we found here that alpha is a scaling factor which is maintaining a balance between the supervised and unsupervised component. And considering now all the introduction about explainability, I would like to ask you if you are convinced with this explanation. Is it quantitative enough? We decided we need to investigate that to see. And what we saw that this alpha is further within the optimization procedure, included in the memberships, which are optimal, also in the prototypes. And then also, here you can see, this is the membership, the estimated membership for the optimal, for the supervised observation. And we have here this component, which has alpha in numerator and 1 plus alpha in denominator. And therefore, we defined that, in fact, the impact of partial supervision can be defined with this function, which at the same time seems to be absolute lower bound. And this manuscript is, it was minor revision already a few weeks ago, so it's still unpublished. And but the key point here is that also maybe with the simulations, once we look at that, so depending on the alpha that we choose, the memberships, as you see, these are the memberships for the true class with the simulated scenarios, they seem to have this lower bound. We also did some tricks with transformation when we applied additional sigma, and it was very interesting to see how we can control a little bit this impact with this additional transformation. But at this stage, to conclude, we need to be aware that depending on this parameter, the results we obtain might vary, and also they may vary in terms of interpretations. And we have also been working with confidence. Maybe I will skip that part to show you also the final method. The key point with the confidence, just once we are not fully confident about the labels, we may easily incorporate also the value between 0 to 1, which states how confident we are the labels. And in life, we are very often, we have the labels when we are not confident fully in some setting. Also, we were quite looking for some data sets to validate our semi-supervised models. And in fact, we had some troubles with it. So we also provided additional data sets for comparison. It's a synthetic data set, and it can be accessed here on this address. Okay, so now to conclude both approaches, we had the summarization with the properties, and we have the fuzzy C clustering. Why we are doing this? Because in practice, very often, especially when we have the sensor data and the medical information, we don't have completely labeled data set. The availability is very limited, you can see here. So when working with this application, we especially needed to find some approach to incorporate the unsupervised situation. And also already it was one of the first approaches when we tried to define, because the key challenge is to define the matching between the linguistic term sets and their representation. Also considering that the final results need to be interpreted by experts, by clinicians, and they very often have their understanding of some concepts. Not to mention the fact that once we deal here with the sensor data, additionally, there's a practical limitation, for example, that we cannot store all the data. So we need to process data on the front just to gain some insights. And in this context also, it's what we observe in such streaming data very often, the concepts evolve. And in this context, for example, you can imagine someone has a change of smartphone, and automatically their records start to be, let's say, they have different scale. So in this context, we wanted a method that will adapt to the nature of data. And the approach we propose is based, well, it follows the idea of evolving systems. We incorporated dynamic, semi-supervised fuzzy learning. And the final goal is to really to efficiently communicate about the alarming situation. In this context, for example, we see the alarm happened, and we need to explain why the alarm happened. And what we propose, and here you can see a simple schema, is we process data in chunks. Next, for each chunk, we find the optimal partitions, and then we apply this information about clusters to learn the linguistic summaries. And the formula here, the optimization procedure we follow, it's, as you now can see, it's a modification of what we had before, but the key point is here with the NT, which now we perform that for each chunk iteratively. And the most, let's say, exciting part is the part of the error. So the decision when to split chunks in this context, when to also decide whether to keep 2 clusters or more. And in this context here, we applied the reconstruction error, where we measured the distance to the prototypes, and also with the estimated data points, we adopted them. And based on this reconstruction error, we did the decision whether to stop the splitting or further continue it. And then finally, we applied the tree search algorithm, and at this stage, we applied some pruning. Once we see that the further path is not promising, we prune it, and in the end, we provide the most informative set of summaries. So to conclude, let's first take a look at the performance. And we compared ourselves. It was very I would say, challenging, because we compared ourselves with the WeScatterNet, which is a quite large-scale data stream method. It was also performed on the distributed platform with Apache Spark. So this time is slightly not fully comparative, because we could operate on the Google Colab, and they had the, let's say, a little bit better infrastructure. But the main outcome, I think, from this comparison, and we were really even surprised, is first of all that having at least even 20% of labeled samples is overall sufficient, or doesn't improve much the process. So in this context, from the way also this optimization is performed, sometimes it's enough to have really already a limited. Here we have the 25% or 100, because we simulated the lack of labels. And also, we wanted to see where we are. We were aware that we have this fuzzy approach, which we love, with explainable, with prototypes, but at the same time, probably is not as powerful as some neural network trained on plenty of examples. But in fact, we did quite good in terms of accuracy. Here you can see for the bipolar, this was our set, and these are some other benchmarks. For for one we failed, for the other we are better. So overall, in terms of accuracy, we confirmed it's overall satisfactory. With the training time, we already worked on that. We improved our implementation to have more efficient, and we already have it published as a Python package. So I will provide the link in the end, and it will be, so we will be also happy if you can use it or provide us feedback. Okay, coming to this, okay, the results, well, they were also published recently, and so considering the real life data, well, the distribution within chunks varies. So sometimes we have chunks when there's just one class. We also observe, so here you can see exemplary chunk 5 and 8, and we see what is the accuracy. And finally, apart from the all statistics measure accuracy, we provided these summaries. And this resulted to be a very informative set of information. So here you can see the ones that have degree of truth 1. We also consider other degrees to measure the quality. But the point is that we realized that these sentences could be really confronted with what state-of-the-art states within the medical domain, because also it is confirmed that speech has some relation to the mental state. But this is the final, let's say, result of this reasoning. So to conclude, fuzzy summaries are considered as very powerful explanations. They are human consistent information granules. At the same time, it seems challenging that individual sentences are not enough. We need further research, further measures to prove all the properties also of the sets of summaries. And also considering that in reality, data is usually partially labeled, we are really here very enthusiastic about the semi-supervised, with the particular example of a fuzzy C-means as the is the basis. Of course, we will plan to further extend that, but here we need to be careful that even for the methods grounded in fuzzy theory, we may have some parameters that have key influence on the outputs, for example, memberships in this context, so maybe interpreted in a different way. So hyperparameters are always very important, and also to understand their relation. And then, of course, as you have seen, the evolving memberships, but then measuring the properties of such sets with evolving memberships is a big challenge that we are also now thinking of. So thank you very much for your time. Here are the links, especially this SSF class. So this is the full Python library. We have also some with the confidence. So also here's my email, or whenever you have a question, I'm open to that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your nice talk. And thank you also for fitting into the time slot, although we have taken some part of your time slot at the very beginning. So please, ladies and gentlemen, questions, remarks, comments, whoever from you wants to give a comment, please use the microphones you have there close to you so that also people who are online can hear you. So, yes, Milan, please, over there.
Very short.
Okay, so it's a function. I will just maybe go back.
I'll repeat it also for you. What is quantifier was the question.
Yeah, it's a function at this stage. From, oh wait. Oh, can you make me? Okay, so at this stage, we assume it's a function and either relative or absolute. So
Doesn't have some properties determined.
so the properties, we are investigating them, which to consider, but depends which, well, for
So the properties are not axiomatically given in advance.
no,
Is
no,
this the answer?
no. Thank you.
Okay, yes, please. Go to the microphone and please be loud because also the other audience wouldn't be able to hear. No, no, go because there's online people who are. So go to the microphone, please, and be loud also for the other part of the audience.
Yes. I'm not sure I understand fully the question. Okay, at this stage, this is the for T norm is general at this stage. Yes. Now we have we have experimented as of now mainly with the 3T norms, the Łukasiewicz algebraic and min-max, and but here for those we didn't see, but these were experiments. At this stage, this is general.
Thank you very much. Some other questions or comments, please? Yes, Olga, please.
Interesting talk. I'm wondering about the parameter alpha. How we should choose this parameter? Is a decision maker who is giving these parameters? If the algorithm choose to be very sensitive this parameter, and if it's decision maker, then how to choose it correctly?
Okay, thank you for this question, because this, in fact, interested us. We also did a review, and starting from the work of Pedrich and Walecki, they recommended to take a proportion between the labeled and unlabeled observation, so to keep it fixed. At the same time, there was also some further work where still you can get an impression that this is some ratio. Then it might it's easy to think that maybe it's linear. It was not, as we can see, this effect. But in the end, it's a high parameter, so it needs to be decided. As for our advice, as also comes as the result for results for all the simulations and analytical analysis, we see that we need clearly to explain that considering this alpha, we have this result, and to have it fixed for observation, because clearly changing alpha can have both, well, it influences both the memberships and the prototypes. So therefore, we also, well, we included these comments in the paper just to make that there's this this relation, and this is not a hyperparameter, just not having much influence.
Okay, some other questions or comments? But I can see anyone there? No. If not, maybe I would have one. You said, if I'm correct, and if I repeat correctly what you said, that linguistic summaries can be defined as statements in natural language describing numerical data sets.
I said yes, that it is some data to summarization.
We can say the same both association rules. So
Exactly.
is the only difference between them is the generation, the way the algorithm that is generating them? Well, otherwise, from the ideological point of view, it's basically like another approach to the same topic.
That's in fact, I think we can summarize that therefore also I started with providing the related work, citing also, I think, your paper with the association rules, but also there is this consequence of linguistics. So in linguistic, like how we formulate that, because when we formulate linguistic summaries, we use some specific notation of among records they contribute. We don't have this causal relation. So in fuzzy association rules, probably you talk about the consequent, and so it's a little bit different methodology, but in a way we realize a similar task, but we deliver different objects in a way. But it's clearly we are doing very similar things. So that's also with Petra, we started a little bit to look closer. Now, well, Petra will have a talk also during FSTA, when first we provided linguistic summarization, and now we will look for the fuzzy association rules with intermediate quantifiers. So I think it will be a very interesting talk on Thursday, Thursday morning. Thursday morning, yes.
In other words, if I restrict my focus on implicative form of linguistic summaries or association rules, I'm given the same data set, and I'm playing the same, or a little bit different, but I'm playing the game with hyperparameters. I will end up potentially with the same summaries or association rules. But if I choose a little bit different parameters, hyperparameters and so on, I can get different. But if I'm just, focusing only on implicative form, implicative shape, I get the same data set. I apply both methodologies, I can end up with the same, potentially.
Potentially,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't say I have to, but I can.
Yeah, I'm referring also because here, these are not implications at this stage. So here probably, Michał can tell us more about fuzzy implications. So,
Okay.
But potentially, definitely we should compare. That I would say.
If there are no more hands raised for willingness to give you a question or a comment, let me thank you once more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.